victims, and thank you for your presence here today. Earlier in the hearing, the ranking member mentioned that we should avoid politicizing this issue, and I do agree that over a long period of time, our aviation system had been extremely safe, a stellar record. And as someone who gets on a commercial airliner at least a couple of times a week, and as someone who has very warm relations with many of the pilots, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I've come to know a lot of the pilots, flight attendants, machinists, people who work at the airport. My brother-in-law works at on the runway at Logan Airport in my district. They all take enormous pride in that long and stellar safety record. On October 29, 2018, that long, excellent record was severely damaged when Lion Air Flight 610, a Boeing 737 MAX, crashed into the Java Sea at about 450 miles an hour, killing 184 passengers and 5 crew members on board. That long record of excellent safety operations was again damaged 4 months later on March 10th of this year when Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, again a Boeing 737 MAX, crashed 6 minutes after takeoff. That crash resulted in the deaths of all on board, 149 passengers and 8 crew members. After that crash, I, along with many of my colleagues on this committee, signed a letter asking that the 737 MAX be grounded. That decision was not political. That decision was based on the tragic facts, on the tremendous loss of life. We supported the grounding of the 737 MAX because we felt it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do for the pilots. It was the right thing to do for the crew. It was the right thing to do for the flight attendants, for the passengers, and for the public. I represent an area that surrounds Logan Airport. The main runways out of Logan take the majority of flights over my district, over the homes and schools and neighborhoods of the people who live in my district and who I represent. An air disaster like Lion Air or Ethiopian Air 302 coming out of Logan Airport, crashing minutes after takeoff in a densely populated area would be a mass casualty event on the ground in my district. So it wasn't a political decision to ground the 737 MAX after those accidents. And it won't be a political decision to put those planes back in the air. It'll be based on the assurances that we have because of the experts that we have here today and the diligence that we will apply to the testing of this system that will rule the day on that decision. I do want to ask Captain Sullenberger, the descriptions of the Lion Air disaster report that because of the faulty data on that angle of attack, the angle of attack data, the MCAS system forced the nose of the aircraft downward, quote, more than 24 times during an 11-minute span. And there were reports from other pilots who have had similar problems that the plane acted like a bucking bronco. I'm just wondering, some people are trying to blame the pilots here. And I'm just wondering, with an aircraft behaving like that, is it fair to blame these pilots? Because you would think that if we could get the software right, they wouldn't have to deal with an aircraft that's acting like a bucking bronco. I just don't want to take the easy path and blame the pilots.
I think asking, well, first, we shouldn't be blaming dead pilots. We need to do much more than that. But asking whether this was a pilot error or design error doesn't really address the right question, because human performance is a variable and it's situation dependent, and we must make accurate assumptions about what's possible in extreme emergencies, given the distractions, the workload, the task saturation. You're right. We shouldn't expect pilots to have to compensate for flawed designs. But we have to realize that everything we do, our entire system, the aircraft designs, the way we train pilots, the culture we have, the knowledge we give them, the information we give them or withhold from them, determines three important things. How many errors...
Captain Sullenberger, I'm sorry, you're going to have to get it in writing. Those three issues will have to be in writing to the committee.
I'm sorry, that?